Okay, Commissioners, like to call to meeting Public Services meeting to order. The first item is Pledge of Allegiance. Joe, you want to lead us to the flag? United States of America, to the Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. I think Marv would explain a lot. All right, we got through the pledge. We need a motion to adopt the agenda, moved by Kraft, supported by Hall. Please vote. Adoption of the agenda. Agenda is approved. Public participation. Anyone from the public wish to address the body? Newspaper reporters can talk too. Anyone from the public? Seeing no one from the public. Department recommendations. Jeff Schrader, welcome. A budget amendment, Department of Defense, Office of Economic Adjustment, Salford Sustainability Study Grant, $266,228. It's been moved by Brown, supported by Lucido. Let's go ahead and have Jeff give us a presentation, if we can.
Just a real brief overview. I think many of you are familiar with this. Our department and our partners, the state of Michigan, went out to receive a grant from the Office of Economic Adjustment from the Department of Defense. We were granted this $266,228 grant for the purpose of doing a sustainability study between the local communities and Selfridge Air National Guard Base. The purpose of that study is really to promote community planning, environmental protection, and economic development, and looking at it in a manner that's compatible with both the mission of the base and the objectives of the master plans of all the local communities and the host community for the base. So the outcomes of this project are to identify issues that exist and then look to seek methods that could be put in place to either rectify those issues or mitigate some of those. So the outputs of that will be recommendations from the consultant that we will be bringing on board. So we're before you asking for an amendment to our budget to be able to accept these funds so that we can take the next steps of going out to RFP to bring a consultant on board to work through the process with us, our 9 partner communities in the state in developing this study.
Okay, very good. We'll open up for questions. Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it. I have heard from one citizen who seemed convinced that the desired outcome of this is to put restrictions on people's property outside the base, that can't develop here because a plane might crash, can't develop this, can't develop that. Their interpretation of this proposal was that it will be infringing on property rights of the citizens that live surrounding the base. Have you heard any concerns like that? Is that something that people should be worried about?
I don't think that's anything that anyone needs to be concerned about, because we are talking about our communities, which are home rule, which set their own zoning and master plans, and basically will control that. What we're looking at here is taking a look at, there are some sensitive areas. There's obviously areas related to the airstrip, the landing, there's clear zones, and looking at the development that is being proposed in those areas, just in terms of the development and economic development, that those are compatible. Looking at
what would be compatible with a crash zone?
Not putting uses there that would concentrate a lot of people.
Okay.
Not putting buildings there that might be over a certain height. Those would be things that would be looked at by the consultant and identified as potential issues.
Would a subdivision be a potential issue in a crash zone?
Absolutely.
So if somebody owns land, their land use might be taken from them if they can't develop the property for anything other than farm or vacant land.
I don't know that anyone is proposing any additional land use controls. I think they're looking at what the community has designated as those uses and looking if they're compatible.
But wouldn't restricting buildings or restricting subdivisions, in other words, that is land use control, and if there was nothing that needed to be changed, then we wouldn't need this study.
But there are other elements of this study. There's environmental elements, there's wetlands, there's migratory birds, there's a lot of other things besides just the land and construction in the immediate area of the base. We're talking about host communities that reach as far as the St. Clair Shores, up to Macomb Township, Mount Clemens. There are environmental concerns that at least have been looked at in other studies around the country. And like I said, migratory birds are a large issue here with Lake St. Clair, and the base does a lot to try to mitigate them. So one of the things they would like not to see is anybody putting a new landfill anywhere near that, because that tends to attract those types of waterfowl. So land use control issues will be one thing that are talked about. Environmental issues will also be addressed, as long as addition to traffic, a whole host of things. You know, basically, it's going to be a sounding board to hear from the base and hear from the community.
And then once the sounding board is over, what's the end result?
The end result will be a series of recommendations made by the consultant to look at, are there areas that need to be mitigated? What would be some of those things that could be done? And that would basically lead into what we would hope to be a second phase of the study, is looking at, are there any things that should be implemented?
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Jeff. This is, first of all, I like grants. That's my favorites.
I knew that was coming out of your mouth.
This sustainability report that you're looking for, was there any conversation about a possible commercial airport?
No.
None at all?
No.
So when you say sustainability study, Selfridge has been there for,
Well over 100 years.
thank you. So I say, without, I don't, I mean, what's there to sustain? It's there. It's not going anyplace. The neighborhood has been developed. I mean, it's great that we got a grant. Can we do this, Jeff? Maybe we're better off if we do this. Once that study is completed, would you be willing to come back to us to let us know the results of that study?
Oh,
I really
absolutely.
would like to know.
Absolutely, and I believe that you will see that from the consultants and from the two teams that are developed from the local units. They'll be back in front of you to present the results of those things.
Okay, you sounded adamant about this commercial airport, and the reason
No,
being,
this is not a joint land use study like the studies that had been done in the past with previous BRACs, where they're saying,
Right.
can there be a private commercial partnership there? This has nothing to do with the change, any change of the base. It's looking at what its current mission is today and how it impacts the local communities and vice versa.
the only thing is, I'm certainly glad that you came before us with a grant and did not come before me asking for money for this type of study. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joe. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Jeff. How are you? Quick question for you. Throughout the scope of work, it references the S3 Policy Committee.
Yes.
Who is on the S3 Policy Committee?
There are two committees that will be generated. Actually, there'll be three committees. The first committee will be formulated, if we receive your authorization to expand budget, will be to let out the RFP. We have letters drafted right now, prepared to send out to our partners, and those partners being State of Michigan and all of the communities that are, in contact with the base in the host community, asking them to participate in the review of the consultant RFPs. Once a consultant is brought on board, the consultant then is going to go back out and engage the communities, and that policy committee is going to be highest elected official or designee of those people. So those are going to be the people talking about policy. Then there's going to be another committee that the consultant is going to help us put together. That's going to be a technical committee. And that's going to be the people, there's going to be people on the ground that are designated by the policy folks. So a township supervisor may say, I want my Parks and Rec guy and my DPW person to serve on that, because they can provide the local feedback of what's going on in the community.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. This is an important study because when the breaks come around from time to time, they need the information about what's going on, and they're concerned about things that infringe upon the base. We all wanted to keep Selfridge, right? We all wanted to help do that. Well, having these studies helps prevent that. When the township of Harrison decided to put a subdivision at the end of the runway at Selfridge, which, people bought houses afterwards, didn't know they had an airport running over the airport of their house. But that was a negative thing against the base, because there was something in their clear zone and something they're sensitive to. So what this study is trying to do, and others before it, is to let the local communities know what's going on at the base, so their zoning decisions, voluntary zoning decisions, can be made considering what's going on at the base. So if they want to put skyscrapers along the edge of the base, they got to know that it's going to negatively impact the continued use of that base, and they can do what they want. They're an independent body, they can do what they want, but helps them understand what's going on at Selfridge and helps them think about what are they doing in concert with what's going on around them, if they like it, right? If they want to see Selfridge go away, then they would take steps that would negatively affect it, or they could try to consider that and try to do other things that would make it more compatible. So this is necessary. This is not the first time this has been done, and something I think that should be, this is nothing that's going to mandate any changes. This study is just going to recommend to local planners what's going on around them, and they can free to choose what they want to do. So, it's up to the community to decide what it is. But this is something that's worthwhile and necessary. We want to get the, remember, not too long ago, we tried to get the F-35 in here.
Right.
We were doing everything we could to convince the powers that be that Macomb is the place for those F-35s and all the economic opportunity that comes along with it, all the support services, all the additional personnel, all the high-tech jobs, all the technology, all the federal money coming into the area. Well, we didn't get it. We came up short. Well, maybe there was a reason for that, and this study will help look at that, and maybe there's something we can do on the outside of the base, outside the gate, that would maybe make us a little bit more enticing. So that's what this is about, and certainly something we should fully support and see what the recommendations say. So, thank you.
If I can add to your comments, Commissioner Brown, one of the reasons the OEA office reached out to us on this, because of the F-35 study, we did score extremely high, but this was a document that was not available to us at that time. It actually was points against us in the overall evaluation. So ramping up for round 2 of F-35, should have mentioned that this is an important piece to have in our back pocket. We put that packet together for the feds.
Good comments there. Chair Smith?
Thank you. So I was at one of the meetings for the sustainability study, and I was approached by a few business people afterwards. And listen, we all want Selfridge to thrive and be here and F-35s to come. But, we also don't want it at the expense of, businesses surrounding landowners and have negative effects on the people that already own property that knew that Selfridge was there already. And I just want to make sure that, sometimes the government, I know, is tough to deal with because these are the rules and this is what you have to follow and here's our compromise, you do what we say, right? I mean, so I want to make sure that at least, that we're talking business people also in a part of this and that there is some room for flexibility with, Selfridge says we can only have 2-story buildings around here, but they can't really find a reason why, right? Maybe it can be 3 or 4, but I just want to make sure that we are looking at the whole spectrum with the, obviously the end game in mind is to make Selfridge, thrive and to bring the F-35s and everything. But so I saw politicians like us, and I saw technical people. Is there a business sector? Does that go into the technical side of it?
What we're anticipating is we have had the same request. There have been some key landowners and property owners in the area that have expressed interest, and we are looking to integrate them into the policy committee. And as to existing development out there, and to waylay the fears of the federal government putting mandates on of buildings, I think what you can look to is some of the examples we've built, and there have been a number of hotels that have gone in that area to the west of Walmart along Marketplace Drive, and some innovative things have been done. One of them is actually meets the 3 stories, but they actually sunk it further into the ground. So by design standards, they were able to do something out there. It still effectively used the property, but so those are the types of recommendations and things you probably see coming out of the study.
Okay.
But we do have a venue for the development community to participate.
Because when we only have political and government, we sometimes tend to, leave out the economic drivers of, the whole community out of it. I just want to make sure that was part of the study. Thanks.
Commissioner Drollet, second round.
I'll be quick. I don't doubt that there's probably some benefit that would come out of this process, but I'm not sure it's really necessary. We've had the base around for 100 years. It looks to me like it's a bunch of consultants and focus groups and committees in search of a problem. There really hasn't been a significant problem. And there is other, I'm not sure what happened with the F-35s. I'm not sure that's the most important thing that could ever be developed in Macomb County for the future is getting those F-35s, or if economic development is more important, I don't know. So I'm a little skeptical, but I respect those people who do see some of the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Romano, I had you on the list here. Second round. You withdrew. Okay, any other questions or comments for Jeff, Commissioners? Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeff, would this sustainability study look at the vacant housing that's currently out there at Selfridge? All the barracks that are currently empty?
On base or off base?
On base?
I don't believe that, I can't say that it will or not. It definitely may, because as they build the scope of the study out and look at the different economic development factors, one of the things I know that they're going to be looking at is that interface across the gate of how many civilian companies come on base to do work and how, are doing services there. As things are renovated, if there's plans for that, that would definitely be taken into account because that would have a local impact.
And when you talk land use, I'm pretty certain in any study, the master plan of the local communities would be incorporated into any
Absolutely.
study like that, and they have home rule judgmental issues that they deal with as well. So that will be part of the study?
We would anticipate that one of the first steps the consultant would do would be to go out to all of the partner communities and round up all of that data, because that's the first place to start looking at.
Thank you.
What
Thank you,
controls are in
Mr.
place
Chair.
currently.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Seeing none, we do have a motion. Please vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We're going to item B,
Chair, I
Director
move B through I in their entirety.
B through I. Okay, so it's been moved by Drollet, support by Leonetti.
You want to throw 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 in? Just kidding.
Well, let's just deal with I. It looks like all the items are road agreements except for the Traffic Operations Center. I'll just open it up for Brian. Just maybe you can give us a brief summary on some of these or the important one. Go ahead, Brian.
And good afternoon, Commissioners. Just happy to be here and happy to see you guys. Item B is the MDOT contract. It's a Traffic Operations Center, our CommTech Center. It's our annual allocation of funding through CMAQ, congestion mitigation and air quality. It's an annual budgetary allotment that we get from Federal Highway to maintain the operations of our CommTech Center, which deals with our traffic signals and traffic operations, our connected vehicle initiative, and everything under the sun with our CommTech Center. So that's basically an annual allocation of CMAQ funding that keeps our operations running in that department or that facility. So seeking approval of that amount
Okay.
as was submitted.
Okay, are there any questions or comments for Brian on any of these items? Commissioner Leonetti?
Thank you for having Jefferson Avenue here on this list of things. It makes me really, really, really happy. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome, Commissioner.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Sauger?
Yeah, I got one, Brian. Why is there not a roller type or whatever it is when they're patching the roads to come over top of these? Because what you're doing, I saw it today coming up here. You're throwing a bunch of the patch on, and then they're gone. Then the cars come by, and it just grinds them down into the hole where it was, and before you know it, it's back where it was. Why isn't there something, or maybe I'm missing something, but this has been going on for years, and it's not just because you're here now, but maybe we can eventually change that to pack that down when they do that patchwork.
I guess it depends on the operation and the time frame. During the summer, we use obviously hot mix. During the winter, we obviously are forced to use coal patch. Coal patch is basically shoveled in and packed in with the vehicles that drive by it. We do different operations with hot mix that, I don't know exactly how many rollers we have. I know we have some smaller peanut rollers that are utilized, but on I guess a volume basis, it's pretty much a volume per day thing. As far as being able to try and roll everything in, it takes more time. We're able to do less volume of potholes in the interim. So it's a functionality and a production thing.
But I'm not going to be a contractor, but it seems to me it would be a long-term fix when you got something packing it down right away, rather than letting it just be driven over.
Our maintenance is basically a Band-Aid to get us by. So we don't have, obviously, people, with their tires in bigger potholes, obviously blowing their tire, bending their rims, a safety issue. So our maintenance is limited as far as the capacity of the the job that we can do as far as the permanency of the job. So, like I said, we try and get volume. We have a lot of roads that are in disrepair that have potholes throughout the county. So we're trying to get more volume with the
Okay.
work that we can do.
Okay, thanks, Marv. Seeing no other I didn't see any names on here, but go ahead, Chair Smith.
Just to go on with what Marv was saying, I would imagine that you guys are out doing that to
I'll put
accomplish,
you on-
which
okay,
would
just-
probably be the best way to go, but to accomplish it, you would probably need way more of those little rollers and way more people to do it, because you probably are out, you know, in different
there you
areas.
go.
I mean, I don't know how many areas in a
Seeing
day
around.
really are you guys out at patching that kind of a patch? It seems like a lot.
Multiple locations, and it
Right.
takes more of a convoy to do that type of work because you're in
Yeah.
that area longer. So it's kind of a rolling operation. So we try and get more bang for the buck as far as the amount of lane miles we can cover.
I got an idea that might work, right? Instead of the two back tires on the big truck that's following it, put one big tire on it and let them at least roll over it with the big tire to start things off, because they're already out there. I mean, you know, I understand your point. It does seem like it would be better, but I mean, obviously you got dollars and cents and time and manpower to deal with, but like finding some like strange solution with the people that are already out there might, you know, who knows, maybe there's a roller on the truck following it or something that just presses it down a little. I don't know, but that's something you can make some money out patenting.
We can definitely look at alternatives in the future, but
I got a patent for you.
you.
Commissioner Brown?
Thank you. On item C, that the town cost share agreement with the Hidden Hills subdivision, it's almost $1 million, not 866. Do we have that scheduled? Has that job been bid out yet?
Yes, it has been bid out. The contract is with James P. Contracting, and that's what the approval request is for the contract with
So
James
that,
P.
there was some hiccups with that. That's all straightened around, so everyone's on the same page.
Yes,
Okay, so the township's good. In the end, the township's ultimately the one responsible for the payments, right?
yes, that is correct. They will get the money from their residents through their
Well-
SAD process through taxes.
However they get it.
Yes.
If they're-
We were not involved with the SAD process. We just know
just-
that they're committed
Washington
to
Township's committed to the
half
town.
of the funding for that
That's important for
program.
everyone to know, that these
Yes.
are commitments by the communities, not by the homeowners themselves.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's a big job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Chair, and I understand now why you didn't recognize me before I was logged in as Joseph Romano.
Okay.
Don't know how that happened.
Okay.
Brian, I just want to get on the record because we had talked about this. The mayor had asked me about Gratiot Avenue from 14 to 696. He said that it was on the MDOT list and Macomb County Roads pulled it off.
We don't have oversight on MDOT projects like that. We try and coordinate our projects along with MDOT projects. We have annual meetings to coordinate projects on a year-to-year basis. We do the best we can with our work, but basically MDOT dictates what work they do on their behalf, and we try and accommodate as much as possible on our end.
Tried to explain that to him, but okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Leonetti.
Thanks again, Mr. Chair. Brian, I'm looking again, this is on 6F on the Harrison Township. It says from I-94 to the St. Clair Shores North City limit. So I know where Jefferson ends for Harrison Township and begins for St. Clair Shores. When you say 94, Jefferson doesn't cross 94. Are you going up as far as Shook? Is that my understanding maybe?
Yes,
or-
it's basically the approach to the overpass.
Okay, gotcha.
So where MDOT and the overpass end on the easterly side of that overpass, we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Down to the southerly city limits.
Okay, great. And that's the one off of Shook is what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
The overpass over Shook. So I get it. It's kind of like a little C. Okay,
Yep.
got it. All right,
Yep,
thank
bends
you.
around.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Brian? I see no one else on the list. We do have a motion. Please vote. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, Commissioners.
We need a motion 6A through D to receive and file. Moved by Hall, supported by Sauger.
Quick question, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
I don't see in my packet the MSU extension report to partners. Is that just missing in my packet or not sent to us or?
I'm not sure. I'm missing it in my packet as well.
Okay, I'll follow up on that. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Please vote. Receive and file. Item number 7, new business. Any new business? Saying no new business, public participation. No one from the public, moved by Drollet, supported by Dujay to adjourn. Please vote to adjourn. And have a good afternoon.
Sounds like Joe.